There's a strange and almost uncomfortable moment that happens in a man's life when he finally starts to see women, not the way the world teaches him to, not through fantasy or fear or desire, but as they truly are. And the moment this happens, something shifts in him forever. It's like watching a magician perform a trick you've believed all your life and suddenly noticing the string he hoped you wouldn't see. You can never go back to clapping the same way. You've crossed a threshold, and the world you once inhabited with such innocence becomes almost foreign. Most men never reach this threshold, you see. They move through life trying to decode women through cliches, advice columns, red pill doctrines, romantic fantasies, anything except genuine perception they don't observe. They react. They want women, chase women, fear women, idealize women, but they rarely understand them. And the tragedy is that misunderstanding is comfortable. It gives a man a kind of soft mental cushion. He can blame, he can project, he can pretend. But the moment he begins to see clearly, that's when the real danger begins. Because an awakened man doesn't fall for the surface presentation. He hears the pauses between a woman's words. He feels the shift in her tone when affection becomes calculation. He notices when her curiosity is genuine and when it is simply a way of evaluating what she can extract. He sees loyalty not in the sweetness of a moment, but in the consistency of actions over time. He sees attraction not as flattery, but as a response to his grounding, not his desperation. And he sees vulnerability in moments other men completely overlook. But the most unsettling thing he sees is this: women reveal themselves differently to men who cannot be manipulated. And this revelation is not always flattering, for a man who sees clearly becomes, whether he intends it or not, a disruptor of illusions. He is no longer moved by the theatrics that work on ordinary men, the jealousy games, the strategic silence, the breadcrumbs of validation. He doesn't stumble over beauty as though it is some divine miracle. He doesn't lose himself in the thrill of attention. He knows that admiration can be a currency, affection can be a strategy, and charm can be a tool. Not because women are malicious, no, but because human beings, all human beings, use whatever works for survival. He simply sees the mechanism that others ignore, and that creates a strange reaction. Women don't always dislike this man, but they become unsettled around him. Because when you cannot be influenced by a woman's usual repertoire, you force her into something far more real. And real is terrifying. Real requires honesty. Real demands she show not the role but the person. Most women have never had to stand in that kind of exposure. Most men never create that atmosphere. So she feels seen, and she does not know whether to be drawn to it or terrified by it. And this is where the danger emerges. For the man, not the woman. Because when you develop this kind of perception, you can no longer fall into the comfortable lies that lubricate social interaction. You cannot believe a woman's words over her patterns. You cannot pretend red flags are misunderstandings. You cannot convince yourself that affection equals intention. And you cannot ignore the shifts that most men miss simply because they hope not to see them. There is an innocence to blindness, you see, a softness, a kind of emotional insulation. The man who sees what others don't loses that insulation. He feels the truth, even when the truth is inconvenient. He notices when a woman is comparing him to a man from her past. He notices when her admiration is performance. He notices when her affection has an expiration date. He notices when she's with him for comfort, not connection. He notices when she wants his attention more than she wants him. He even notices when she's testing him, not because she doubts him, but because she doubts herself. Most men go through life never recognizing these shifts. The awakened man feels them like changes in the weather, and once this begins, he cannot unsee it. Just as a man who's heard the truth cannot return to pretending he is deaf. This clarity brings a strange kind of loneliness, not because he lacks company, but because he lacks illusion. He lives in a world where he sees layers others never notice, and this makes him speak a language most men never learn. It is the language of patterns over promises, truth over charm, energy over appearance. And sometimes, I'll tell you honestly, It can make him wish he had never opened his eyes. There comes a moment in an awakened man's life when he realizes that most relationships are not built on truth, but on mutually agreed illusions. A woman presents a version of herself she hopes he will cherish, and the average man plays along because he wants the fantasy to be real. But the awakened man cannot play along. His awareness removes the stage lights, the scripted lines, the costume jewelry of romance. He doesn't see the performance, he sees the performer. And this is where the true fracture occurs, because when you see the performer, you also see her fears. The quiet panic beneath the charm, the insecurity hiding behind the confidence, the way she scans your reactions, measuring every subtle cue. You see how carefully she chooses words when she senses you're not captivated by her beauty in the same automatic way other men are. You see the moment she realizes she cannot use the usual shortcuts, flattery, seduction, emotional theatrics, to pull you into orbit. You watch her mind recalibrate and she knows you're watching. This is the danger that few men ever understand. A woman feels safest with the men she can influence, but she is most attracted to the ones she cannot move, and an awakened man, he sits exactly at the center of this paradox. He is calm in her chaos. He is unmoved by her moods. He does not chase her approval because he is not lost without it. Most men suffer because they need women emotionally. The awakened man suffers because women do not know what to do with a man who doesn't. It's not that he's cold, it's not that he's distant, it's simply that he sees. He sees when her warmth is genuine and when it is strategic. He sees when her excitement is natural and when it is performed. He sees when she is present and when her mind is already drifting elsewhere, and this level of perception creates a strange dynamic. Women respond to him with unusual intensity, either drawn closer or pushed away. Because when a man sees a woman's truth, he becomes the only person who can't be easily manipulated, but also the only person who can hurt her simply by noticing too much. Let me explain. There is a moment, and you've likely experienced it, when a woman looks at you with a mix of curiosity and discomfort. She senses that you're not fooled by her charm, you're not intoxicated by her beauty. You're listening not to what she says, but to what she avoids saying. And that look she gives you, it's not anger, it's not dislike, it's recognition. She realizes she's standing in front of a man who sees her emotional fingerprints all over the conversation, and that awareness rattles her. Because women are used to men being predictable. They're used to men being easy to impress or easy to control. But the awakened man, he becomes something rare, a mirror she cannot control. And that is terrifying. Not because he exposes her, but because he forces her to be real. Now, here's the part most men never discover. When a woman feels truly seen, she can either rise to meet that clarity, or she can run from it. There is no middle ground. If she is emotionally mature, she will feel something close to relief. Finally, she doesn't have to perform. She doesn't have to manipulate. She doesn't have to test. She can just exist. Few women experience this, but if she is insecure, and most are because society conditions them to be, she will feel exposed. She will pull away. She will accuse you of being too intense, too observant, too serious. Anything that shifts the discomfort away from her and onto you. She will say you're reading too much into things, but here is the irony. You're not reading too much. You're reading exactly what's there. Most men don't see these signals. An awakened man sees them before she even realizes she is giving them. This leads to a kind of emotional exile, a place where you begin to understand women more than they understand themselves. And yet, despite this clarity, you must move carefully, because once you see a woman's truth, you also carry the moral weight of what to do with it. Clarity is not a weapon, but it can become one if mishandled. This is why the awakened man must cultivate restraint. He must use his insight gently, never to control, never to punish, never to shame, because perception without compassion becomes cruelty. And an awakened man is not cruel, he simply refuses to participate in illusions. And whether women admit it or not, those illusions were their comfort. There's a quiet point a man reaches, somewhere between awakening and acceptance, where he realizes that seeing clearly doesn't just change how he understands women, it changes how women behave around him. It's as if your awareness rearranges the atmosphere. Women become more honest in your presence, even when they don't intend to. They reveal things in their expressions, in their hesitations, in the way their voice softens or sharpens, depending on what you awaken in them. And here's the strange part. They don't know they're doing it, but you do. You notice when she is undecided between wanting attention and wanting control. You notice when she is flirting with you, not out of desire, but out of insecurity. You notice when she compliments you because she means it, and when she does it because she hopes you'll need her back. The awakened man sees motives woven into gestures, intentions hiding inside silence, emotional truths wrapped in small talk. And this level of perception creates a tension other men never feel. Because when a woman realizes, consciously or unconsciously, that she cannot hide behind charm, she is forced into honesty. And honesty, for many, is a confrontation they never prepared for. Women don't fear being disliked by a man, they fear being understood by him. Because once a man understands a woman, he becomes immune to the illusions she uses to feel safe. He cannot be seduced by fragility. He cannot be guilted by tears. He cannot be pushed away by mood swings. He doesn't respond to pressure. He doesn't react to emotional warfare. His presence becomes steady, unshakable, grounded, and women are not used to that kind of stillness. They're accustomed to men who crumble under beauty, or beg under affection, or fall apart when tested. But when a man sees what other men don't, he becomes someone she cannot easily move, and that brings her face to face with herself. She realizes she must bring something real, something sincere, something deeper than the appeal she uses on ordinary men. She must meet him at the level of truth, not the level of performance. And this is where relationships with awakened men become beautifully difficult. Because the awakened man knows what a woman looks like when she is truly connected. The softness in her eyes, the quiet in her voice, the absence of strategy. He knows what authentic affection feels like, and he knows what borrowed attention feels like. He knows the difference between a woman who is with him because she desires him, and a woman who is with him because she fears being alone, and he knows the difference immediately. Most men spend months, sometimes years, misreading these distinctions. An awakened man feels it in seconds, but awareness comes with a cost. And that cost is that you can no longer enjoy the illusions that once felt so warm. You can no longer be intoxicated by beauty alone. You cannot fall for the sweetness that masks manipulation. You cannot mistake attention for affection or drama for passion. You cannot pretend a woman loves you when you know she merely needs you. You may still appreciate beauty. You may still enjoy charm. You may still feel desire. But you are no longer devoured by these things, and that changes everything. Because a woman can easily control a man who wants her too much. She can easily confuse a man who is blinded by attraction. She can easily manipulate a man who fears losing her. But a man who sees is dangerous, not because he is cruel, not because he is distant, not because he is dominant, but because he is free. A free man is the one variable a woman cannot predict. She cannot control him with beauty. She cannot influence him with silence. She cannot destabilize him with emotion. She cannot lure him with validation. He becomes immune to what governs most men, and this immunity creates a unique kind of gravity. Women are drawn to him not because he tries to attract them, but because he is not controlled by the forces that control everyone else. His independence becomes magnetic, his clarity becomes intoxicating, his lack of need becomes irresistible. And yet, this same clarity becomes the reason he cannot connect with most women, because the awakened man won't build a relationship on illusions, and illusions are exactly what most people use to start them. This leaves him standing in a kind of emotional wilderness, surrounded by possibilities, but incompatible with most of them. He is not alone because he lacks options. He is alone because he sees too much to accept what he once would have tolerated, and there comes a final, almost haunting realization that every awakened man eventually faces. The realization that seeing clearly doesn't simply change how you view women, it changes how you view yourself in relation to them. Because once you strip away illusion, once you understand the emotional mechanics behind attraction, insecurity, desire, fear, and manipulation, you begin to ask a question most men never dare to ask. What kind of woman can actually meet a man who sees everything? It's not a question of beauty. It's not a question of charm. It's not a question of bodies or faces or social value. It is a question of depth. Because when you see through the masks, you're no longer interested in the woman who relies on them. You're no longer attracted to the woman who tests you or tries to unsettle you or drapes herself in emotional theatrics, hoping you'll dance to the tune. You're no longer interested in the woman who creates chaos for attention or confusion for control or distance for power. Once you see clearly, you're interested in something much rarer. A woman who has no need to perform, a woman who does not fear being seen, a woman who can sit in her truth without trembling, a woman who speaks without calculation, feels without manipulation, loves without conditions. And this, you see, is where the awakened man separates himself entirely from the world of ordinary men, because he is no longer choosing out of loneliness, or lust, or social pressure. He is choosing out of alignment. He is choosing out of clarity. He is choosing out of a truth that has cost him dearly to understand. And that level of clarity makes you selective in a way others will misunderstand. People will say you're too picky. They'll say you're afraid of commitment. They'll say you want perfection. But deep down you know, you're not searching for perfection. You're searching for reality in a world obsessed with pretending. And most people are terrified of reality, especially in relationships. This is the true danger of seeing what other men don't. You lose the ability to love blindly. And blind love is the only kind most people know how to give. You don't fall for the fantasy. You don't fall for the performance. You don't fall for the potential she projects. You fall for what is actually there, not what you wish was there. And because of that, your heart is both harder to reach and far more valuable when it is reached. You love differently. You connect differently. You choose differently. And the woman who earns that depth will feel something she's likely never felt from any man before. A love that isn't based on illusion, desire, or fear, but on clarity. And clarity, when shared between two people, is one of the rarest forms of intimacy there is. Now, I won't lie to you. This path is not easy. Awareness has a price. A high one, in fact. You will outgrow people you once tolerated. You will see truths you once ignored. You will walk away from women other men would beg for. You will value peace over pleasure, and you will demand emotional honesty, not because you're difficult, but because dishonesty exhausts you. But understand this: a man who sees clearly is not cursed. He is simply living without the anesthesia most men rely on, and there is freedom in that, a freedom so profound that once you taste it, you will never again trade it for the comfort of illusion, not for beauty, not for attention, not for temporary affection, not for a relationship that demands blindness as a condition for peace, because the awakened man knows something others don't. You cannot build a life with someone you have to pretend for, and the moment you see a woman clearly, truly clearly, you will know exactly who she is, not the fantasy, not the performance, not the version designed to charm you, but the real person standing beneath it all. Some men never see this in their entire lives. You are already living in that truth, and while it may isolate you at times, while it may make relationships fewer but deeper, while it may place you on the outside of the comfortable illusions most people call love, it also prepares you for the rarest experience a man can have, a connection built on reality, a woman who is not afraid of being seen, a life without pretending. And when that arrives, you will understand why you walked this entire path alone. There is one last truth an awakened man must face, and it's one the world rarely prepares him for. When you see women clearly, you also see the patterns of your own past with painful accuracy. You begin to recognize the moments you ignored your intuition, the red flags you rationalized, the manipulation you mistook for passion, the validation you confused for love. And instead of resenting the women who played roles in those moments, you begin to understand something far more uncomfortable. You helped write the script. You see, clarity doesn't just expose others, it exposes you. It shows you how desperately you once needed to be chosen, how willingly you abandoned your boundaries, not because she demanded it, but because you offered them like gifts in exchange for affection. How easily you surrendered your stability the moment beauty smiled at you. The awakened man does not blame women for this. He recognizes his participation, and through that recognition, something tremendous happens. His self-respect evolves. Suddenly, you no longer crave being wanted. You crave being understood. You no longer seek attention. You seek alignment. You no longer pursue women who excite your insecurity. You are drawn to women who nourish your clarity. This shifts your entire world, because when a man no longer fears losing a woman, he begins to choose differently. He stops chasing chemistry and starts valuing character. He stops pursuing intensity and starts valuing consistency. He stops falling for the thrill of chaos and starts appreciating the peace of emotional maturity. And women feel this shift immediately. You become a man they cannot hurry, a man they cannot pressure, a man they cannot destabilize through silence or affection, withdrawal, a man they cannot impress with beauty alone. You become grounded in a way that makes them second-guess every tactic that worked before. Because the awakened man doesn't respond to manipulation, not because he's stronger, but because he sees it. And once a man sees manipulation clearly, it loses all power. This forces the dynamic with women into new territory that is both more demanding and more profound, because the awakened man requires the one thing many people avoid most: emotional truth. He listens not to words, but to alignment. He watches not how a woman behaves when she is happy, but how she behaves when she is insecure. He cares less about how she expresses attraction and more about how she handles disappointment. This is the kind of man women cannot lie to successfully, not because he punishes dishonesty, but because he notices it instantly. And that is why awakened men are rare and relationships with them are rare. Not because they are difficult, but because the world avoids the discomfort of honesty. But here's the beauty. A grounded, aware, awakened man becomes a sanctuary for the right woman, the one who has also outgrown illusions. With him, she feels no need to perform, no need to manipulate, no need to compete. She can breathe, she can soften, she can trust, because he sees her and still stays. And that is the deepest form of safety a woman can feel. So if you are a man who sees what other men don't, understand this: your clarity is not a curse. It is a filter. It removes the wrong women. It reveals the right ones. And it protects you from the version of yourself that once settled for less than you were built for. But remember, perception is only powerful when paired with action. Awareness means nothing if you still choose against yourself. Do not dim your insight to make others comfortable. Do not pretend not to see what you clearly see. Do not let loneliness push you into the arms of someone who only loves the blind version of you. You have earned this clarity. Stand in it, live by it, and trust where it leads you, even if the path is quieter than you expected. And if this message spoke to you, if it helped you see yourself or see women or see the world with a little more precision, then don't let it end here. Like the video, share it with a man who needs it, and subscribe for more teachings like this. Your support helps the channel grow, and it helps more men awaken.